Yes, indeed. Grand rising to you all. And welcome to the Devotional Rise and newspaper reading. Topic of the devotional is be careful for nothing. First scripture is taken from Isaiah chapter 41, verses 10 through 15. Motivational verse is found in Philippians chapter 4, verse 6, which reads, be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication. With thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto Yahweh. Motivational quote says, fear not and see the glory of Yahweh. Prophetic word for today. I pray that you will allow Yahweh to take absolute control of your situation in the name of his beloved Son, Yahshua. The devil has no weapon with which he easily finishes unwrapped believers. That is the weapon of anxiety. What is anxiety? It is the feeling of being very worried about the issues of life. Many people get so worried over situations and circumstances that they become sick, tired, and unproductive. Some end up losing their minds out of hopelessness. Believers in Christ are not supposed to have this kind of attitude, but the devil ensures that he gets them to that point where they see impossibility instead of possibility. They think it is all over when Yahweh is not, sorry, is yet to start with them because they have not given him a chance to do so. The 23rd Psalms 1 to 6 puts it so in sincerity. It says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restored my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. A good understanding of the above scripture will put your mind at rest as a child of God concerning any challenge that you may be facing. Verse 4 is the great solace to us. And it says, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me, your rod shall your rod shall lead me and comfort me. Beloved ones, let us not give in to anxiety and situations that is not in our control, but trust in the Most High God Yahweh, just as the 23rd Psalm says, His rod and His staff shall lead and comfort us all in such times. Have a blessed day or afternoon in your neck of the woods. I'll be sliding over into the newspaper reading. Million in 4 days. Delinquent advertisers pay up after launch of signs enforcement drive in St. James. Wow, 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 wow. Montego Bay St. James, the municipal corporation has racked in a little over 8 million in overdue advertising fees over the last few days as an aggressive enforcement drive pays off. Payments were received over 4 days, a 4 day period, beginning Friday evening and continues through today. Chairman of the corporation and Mayor of Montego Bay, Richard Veron, told the Jamaica Observer on Thursday the St. James Municipal Corporation has collected 8,150,861 so far, reducing the original outstanding amount of 16,308,620.50. He disclosed. Last week, large banners bearing the corporation logo and name were dropped over several billboards throughout the city, limiting exposure for those who had fallen behind in their fees. While the mayor is happy, some advertisers have now paid up. He is determined to go after those who have ignored requests to clear their overdue bills. We have received no communication from the remaining advertisers who are still in arrears, said Veron, who added that efforts will now be made to collect them by phone or email. He made it clear there will be no easing up with the ongoing collection drive. The full unit compliance is achieved. The enforcement measures currently in place will be maintained, said Veron. The local authority has been forced to take several measures in the past as revenue dipped below what is required to sustain the operation. We have a city to run, and running a city requires adequate and reliable funding. Our resources are already stretched, and whatever there is outfall in revenue, we must intensify compliance activities to protect the city's ability to function effectively, the mayor explained. Outstanding advertising payments are a revenue matter, and when arrears grow to a level that threatens service delivery, we must intervene decisively, he stated. Going forward, Mayor Veron told the Observer account will be more closely monitored, and where appropriate, there will be changes made in payment arrangement. Advertisers will be formally advised of these strengthening measures. He added, the mayor stressed that these activities are part of a commitment to fairness, accountability, and efforts to ensure that all entities benefiting from us, so from the use of public space, meet their obligations to the people of Montego Bay. There have been similar efforts to boost revenue while simultaneously restoring public order in other municipal municipalities across the country. From January to March this year, the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation gave advertisers an opportunity to clear their backlog of fees and for illegal erecting of signs to be removed. It then moved to the next phase, which involved legal action and cutting down illegal the illegality place of signs and non-compliance signs. In addition to the focus on collection of property tax, there has also been a clampdown of communities in St. James, Trelawney, where property owners have engaged in construction without obtaining proper permission from and paying fees to the local authorities. End of article. Yeah, we'll give thanks to the Most High God Yahweh, for He is good. When, when I look into things, I say human beings we can't govern ourselves into in a such a way where people benefit based on my little reasoning for the time I'm on the boat upon this planet. Yeah, we that true peace, and we we're not enjoying that peace. Only those who, according to Matthew chapter 5, verse 3, will understand what I'm talking about. Yeah, man. Yeah, man, give her thanks. see if I can find the next article. Good. Climate disaster costs Jamaica, US, one twenty 136 billion in 23 years. Hmm. Wow, that's not so much. Climate disaster cost Jamaica, US, 136 billion in 23 years. Jamaica has suffered more than US 136 billion in economic losses from climate related disasters over the past 2 decades, with the poorer households, farmers, fishermen, fishers, and small tourism operators often facing the slowest and most uneven recovery, according to a new United Nations back discussion paper released on Thursday. The discussion published by the Jamaica Economic Panel found that the islands experienced 19 major meteorological events between 2000 to 2023, including hurricanes, storms, and droughts that disrupted livelihood, damaged infrastructure, and strained essential service. Recent disasters, including Hurricane Beryl in 2024 and Hurricane Melissa in 2025, further highlight the importance of strengthening the recovery systems that support long term resilience. While Jamaica has strengthened its emergency response capacity over the years, recovery outcomes remain uneven, particularly for economic vulnerabilities, households, rural communities, informal workers, farmers, fishers, and small tourism operators. According to the panel, these groups are often left behind because of limited service, inadequate insurance coverage, insecure land tenure, and restricted access to financing. The reports also note that women, older persons, and people with disabilities can face additional barriers during recovery because of social and economical vulnerabilities. JEP panelists said preparedness remains one of the biggest factors shaping recovery without outcomes, but efforts are often constrained by limited financing, coordination gaps, and weaknesses in early data collection and damage assessments. The panel said strengthening early warning systems, scalable social protection programs, housing readiness, livelihood protection, and resilience infrastructure could improve recovery outcomes and reduce long term economic damage. Dr. Nadine MacLeod, a member of the Jamaica Economic Panel, JEP, said the country must strengthen its disaster risk management framework as climate related hazards become more frequent and severe. She said sustained investments in early warning system, data and risk assessments, resilience infrastructure, and stronger coordination between communities and national agencies could help reduce vulnerability and improve resilience. Dr. Stuart Davis, United Nations senior economist and preparedness, said preparedness must be more deliberate, embedded into recovery systems to ensure faster and more equitability outcome, strengthening partnerships, improving data-driven decision making, and aligning preparedness and recovery planning more critical to ensuring that the most vulnerable communities are not left behind, Davis said. United Nations Resident Coordinator in Jamaica, Denise Zulu, said strengthening preparedness for inclusive recovery is essential to protect Jamaica's development gains as climate related disasters become more frequent and severe, ensuring that recovery systems are designed in such a to reach most vulnerable will be critical to building resilience and leaving no one left behind, Zulu said. The JEP is a partnership between the United Nations Resident Coordinators Office and the Department of Economics at the University of the West Indies, Mona, and examines monthly social economic issues affecting Jamaica. End of article. Yes, indeed. In the environment news, the PNP spokesperson on environment welcomes the landmark dry arbor mining ruling. Let's take a look at this article. Kingston, Jamaica, opposition spokesperson on environment and climate resilience, Omar Newell, has welcomed Wednesday's landmark ruling by the Jamaica Constitutional Court, which declared unconstitutional void and of no effect. It 2020 environment permit granted to Bengal Development Limited for its proposed limestone mining project in the Dry Harbor Mountain in St. Anne. In a statement on Wednesday, Newell noted that the ruling makes historic victory for the residents of St. Anne and for Jamaicans who believe that economic development must never come at the expense of the environment, public health, or constitutional rights. Critically, it is the first time that the environment rights provision within Jamaica's Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedom has been abject, abdicated by the court, maintaining that the People's National Party has consistently opposed the project. He said that as far back as November 2020, it had publicly condemned the then government's intention to grant a provisional mining permit, warning that it proposed a grave threat to one of Jamaica's most ecologically sensitive landscape, its biodiversity, and its critical watershed area. Excuse me. I welcome this historic ruling, which affirms that the people of Jamaica have a constitutional right to a healthy and productive environment. This judgment is a victory for the residents who courageously stood up to protect their community for the and for every Jamaican who values sustainable development, transparency, and accountability, said Noel. He added that the judgment exposed the urgent need for stronger independent environmental oversight free from political interference. Jamaica now needs an independent environmental protection agency empowered to make evidence-based decisions in the national interest. Our, our environmental future cannot rest on ministerial discretion. It requires credible institutions with the authority to protect our national resources for generations to come, Newell stated. End of article. Wow. In our column section, we have an article in our column section about Europe pushes for financial sovereignty. Europe's push to reduce its reliance on US controlled payments system is less about convenience and more about strategic autonomy in a rapidly shifting global financial landscape. At the center of this concerns are companies like Visa and MasterCard, which dominate global card transaction and form a critical part of the infrastructure that underpins everyday commerce across eurozones. Despite Europe's economic strength and banking sectors, a significant portion of its transactions still flows through systems ultimately governed by American institution and regulatory framework. This dependence become more stark when viewed against the scale of the global payments ecosystem. In a commercial payments market value at roughly 24 trillion, European countries rely heavily on external networks, with Visa and MasterCard alone handling between 50% and 60% of transactions in many Eurozone alongside Union Pay. These firms collect- collectively process about 97% of global credit card payments. This concentration creates a structural vulnerability. The operational backbone of European commerce is not fully under European control. Currency dominance further amplifies this imbalance. The US dollar remains the primary medium for international trade, accounting for approximately 82% of global trade finance settlements. In contrast, the euro is used in only about 6% of such transactions. This disparity means that even when transactions origin within Europe, they often interface with US based systems at some stage, reinforcing US influence over global financial flows. Wow. As a result, Europe's exposure is not just technologically, but also monetarily and geopolitical. The risk tied to this dependency are no longer hypothetical. In the wake of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Visa and MasterCard suspended their operation in Russia, effectively cutting off access to global payments network for millions of users almost overnight, while Russia represented only a small fraction of their revenue. The move demon- demonstrated how quickly financial access can be restricted when geopolitical tension escalates. For Europe, which is far more integrated into the system, a similar disruption would have far reaching economic consequences affecting businesses, banks, and consumers alike. Meanwhile, China has spent years developing its own parallel ecosystem to reduce reliance on Western systems. Platforms such as Alipay and WeChat Pay dominate domestic transaction while cross-border interbank payment system facilitates international settlements. Together with Union Pay, these systems provide China with a degree institutional from external financial pressure and greater control over its payments infrastructure. Europe, by comparison, is only beginning to build similar capabilities. This is where European Payments Initiative EPI becomes significant. Its flagship produce bureau represented a coordinated effort by major European banks, including Deutsche Bank and the BNP, to establish a homegrown payment system. The goal is to create infrastructures that keeps transactions within Europe, supports instant payment, reduce transaction costs, and integrates seamlessly with digital wallets. If successful, Euro could serve as a credible alternative to the existing global networks, particularly for intra-Europe transactions. The urgency of this initiative is underscored by changing payments habits. Cash usage in Europe has declined significantly, now accounting for every sorry for other for sorry now accounting for only about 39% of transaction value. This shift increase resilience on electronic payment systems and by extension the infrastructure that supports them. Europe does not necessarily aim to sever ties with global payments giants entities. Instead, the objective is to rebalance the system by developing a robust alternative that can operate independently when needed. Even apparent shift, whereby a meaningful share of transaction is proposed through European control networks, would reduce vulnerability to external shocks and enhance economic sovereignty. In this sense, the effort is not just about payments but about control, resilience, and Europe's ability to act independently in an increasingly fragmented global economy. End of article. Okie dokie. Hear what's going on over there. Say I tell you them once, tell you them twice. Morgan Sparks 2 will keep the fire burning. Government committee to delivering all roads promised under the ambitious program. Okay, let's see what this article about. Minister's responsibility for works. Robert Morgan has insisted that the government will keep its commitment to rehabilitate 10 roads in each constituency under the shared prosperity through accelerated improvement to our road network Spark program. As Spark 1 ends around the first quarter of the next financial year, we have to do Spark 2 because we promised 10 roads per constituency. Morgan told the Jamaica Observer on Thursday. We made a commitment for 10 roads. The Prime Minister is very strong on it, and we said in our manifesto that we are going to have Spark 2, which is going to fix what we did not fix under Spark 1, Morgan said. He was responding to reports out of Wednesday 16 of Parliament's Public Administration and Appropriation Committee PAAC that the money allocated for Spark program would not be enough to do 10 roads in each constituency as initially announced. Chief Executive Officer of the National Works Agency, E.G. Hunter, told the committee that time at the time of the community consultation, when the 10 roads were identified, nobody knew at that point in time what the cost for any of the roads would be. So, notwithstanding the fact that 10 roads were identified, the number of roads that can be undertaken based on the budget depends on the cost of each road, said Hunter, to the extent that the cost of the first or second road chosen are substantial in terms of their cost. It's the extent to which limited funds remain from the budget to undertake the other roads onto added, as he pointed out that more than 250 of the 630 roads initially identified would not be touched. But in his interview with the Observer, Morgan explained that based on changes, the 45 billion program, which has been described as the most ambitious road plan ever embarked on in Jamaica, more money will have to be allocated under Spark 2. According to Morgan, due to unforeseen circumstances, it has become necessary to increase the allocation, which has which was always the plan, as government has never pre- pretended that one program, however large, could fix every road in Jamaica at once. There are more roads that need new water pipelines that we thought initially And there were also some roads that needed significantly more money for the initial costing was done. Morgan explained. He pointed to Everest Drive in Kingston Eastern, which was where Spark was launched, and noted that he went in there planning to spend 70 million and end up spending 100 million because you now have to build more retaining walls, you have to build more drainage. Mm-mm-mm. Morgan added the government has made a decision to build the roads properly. We are not taking a shortcut. We are focused on quality over quantity. The quantity is going to cut under Spark 2 to finish what we have and add some more. But we have made a policy decision that these roads must last 10 to 15 years. If you don't do them properly, they are not going to last 10 to 5 years. So the tradition of just asphalting roads and then 2 years later you see the roads start swelling up and water pipes burst and National Water Commission has to be digging up the road will be a thing of the past. He told the Observer that Dr. Andrew Holness led administration has learned lessons from the beginning of the program. Oh gosh. Yes. We have learned lessons from reach, reaching Avenue. We have learned lessons from Ligani Avenue, said Morgan as he noted that in one instance a section of the road which had been repaired under Spark was dug up by the NWC 4 months later. As we move the program forward, we keep learning lessons and we keep having to change because Jamaica's never built 400 roads under any program. So this is new. It is new for the NWA, sorry. It is new for China Harbour Engineering Company, who is the main contractor. It is new for the subcontractors. It is new for the NWC, said Morgan. He was quick to point out that Spark 2 will not necessarily start in the first quarter of next year. We have started planning for Spark 2. I have given instructions to the NWA to start preparing for Spark 2, and this is high policy decision. This decision that was made in our manifesto for the last general election, and we are going to do part 2 under the current creation of the program, Morgan said most constituencies will get between 5 and 8 roads. He pointed out that his Clarendon North Central constituency will see only 5 roads done on the Spark One, in contrast to Jamaica, St. James North Western, where the Member of Parliament, Dr. Armstrong, will have all 10 roads done to the small size of his constituency, while Member of Parliament in Portmore will also see a majority of their roads completed. End of article. I am just looking into something. I see, I'm wondering, the engineers, we have engineers in Jamaica. We have, we're supposed to have some scientists out here. Why they can't find a material to lay on the surface of the road where the water, instead of the water settle on the road, why don't the material absorb the water and the road remains intact? I saw something like that so in Europe. I'm wondering why we can't have such a road system, you know, that type of material will absorb the water. Something representing, foam. When you buy TV, they have a foamy thing where white would protect the television or any device like appliance, sorry, appliance, microwave, television, and so forth. Just my little observation so far. Times are serious, cantankerous, and dangerous. It's only the Father, you know I put my trust. Oh, mhm. Britney Spears formally charged with DUI in California. Los Angeles, United States, AFP pop star Britney Spears on Thursday was charged with driving under the influence of alcohol and drugs. Prosecutors outside Los Angeles said, but she could avoid jail time with a plea deal. The criminal complaint does not specify which substance the 44-year-old singer was allegedly using when she was arrested in early March. Spears is scheduled to be arraigned on Monday in a courtroom in Ventura Country, which borders Los Angeles County. She is not required to attend the hearing because the charge is a misdemeanor and can be represented by her attorney, prosecutors said in a statement. Spears had fundamental early music success, fundamental early music success in the 90s with hits like Baby One More Time, but has largely stepped back from music in recent years. Following her arrest, a representative for the singer described the incident as completely inexcusable and said Spears would take the right step and comply with the law. Since then, she checked herself into rehab, prosecutors said in their statement that Spears could avoid jail time by agreeing to a plea deal, a typical move in cases with no prior conviction, no injuries, and a low blood alcohol level, and defendants who voluntarily enter a rehab program. Such a move would likely result in a guilty plea for reckless driving involving drugs or alcohol, which would see her placed on probation for 12 months. She would also have to take a court ordered driver safety class and pay a fine. The officer will be extended to Miss Spears on Monday, prosecutors said, following a public breakdown in 2000 in 20 in 2007. Sorry, Spears was placed under the conservatorship of her father, Jamie Spears, who has controlled her money and her personal life, even as she continued to perform high profile concerts. The conservatorship was dissolved by the Los Angeles courts in 2021 after groundswell of public support to free Britney. In her 2023 Hear the Woman in Me, Spears insisted she never did hard drugs and that she did not have a drinking problem, but she admitted that she was taking Each medication. Okay, end of article. Wow. Oh, sorry to hear all this about Britney Spears. Whether medication, alcohol, substance abuse can disrupt person's life. So we have to try self-control in certain areas. Wow, I notice most of the time always self-control always come up. Wow. Yes, indeed. When it hits you, you feel no pain. Hit me with music, yeah. You know, I'm gonna change gear again and getting into the word. Romans chapter 2, verse 11. There is no partiality with Yahweh. After he had delivered his people from slavery in Egypt, Yahweh appointed priests to serve at the tabernacle. Levites were assigned to share in other duties related to the holy tent. Those who serve in the tabernacle or who were encamped close to it enjoy better care from Yahweh than others? No, Yahweh is not partial. Everyone in the encampment had an equal opportunity to enjoy Yahweh's friendship. For example, Yahweh made sure that the entire nation was able to see the miraculous pillar of cloud and pillar of fire posed above the tabernacle. When the cloud started to move in a new direction, even those encamped the farthest from the tabernacle were able to see that, assemble their belongings, dismantle their family tents, and keep pace with the rest of the nation. Similarly, today, no matter where we live on earth, we can benefit from Yahweh's loving, watchful care and protection. That's Romans chapter 2, verse 11. There is no partiality with Yahweh. This is where I'll be ending my devotional newspaper segment for today. Take care. Have a productive day, a restful night, or a good afternoon. Salute. Atalo.